Welcome to The Rose and the Bee. In this video, we are diving into an experience of a simple approach to needle felting. We will create a needle felted ornament that you can use in many different ways. We will use the shape of a heart, but you can definitely use the same techniques we will use to create stars and flowers and any kind of shape that you choose. You can use these as decorations. You can put them on brooch pins and make pins or brooches with them. You can sew them onto clothing pieces or accessories. You can use them as holiday ornaments. You can use them to make banners and pennant and streamers. So many ways to use them. So to begin, let's see the materials we're going to need. I have here some sheep wool roving that I purchased at a fiber show. I don't have a label to tell you exactly who I bought it from. And then I have a few colors. These are from Revolution Fibers, but you can definitely buy any type, any brand that you choose. I'm choosing some red and golden yellow and some leftover peach color and brown color for this project. To simplify things, I have a pad, foam pad, coated, wrapped in felt for my padding on work surface. I'm using a cookie cutter in shape of a heart, and I have a Clover felting needle, which you can find at hobby stores and craft stores. You can definitely use any other type of felting needle. I chose this one because this needle is very good for beginner level projects, and it comes with the safety handle already. We will need a pair of scissors at the end to trim around. And then if you want, you can attach your creation to a safety pin, make it into a pin or a brooch. You might use some thread and make it into an ornament you can hang. You choose what you will do from there. Now, before we continue, remember to click that like or subscribe button, as it really helps the channel gain some visibility. I appreciate that if you enjoy our content. So let's begin working. Let's begin creating together. I will put these things to the side for right now, and I will take my plain, uncolored sheep wool roving. I will flatten it out with my hands first and check how the fibers are laying together. What I want to create with this is the base for my ornament. So I'm going to put it down here, and I'm going to tuck it in. Now, when you see this amount, what you see here, that's a little much. That's a little too much. I wanted you to see what would be too much roving in your mold, in your cookie cutter mold. So I'm going to pull this apart, and I'm going to try this amount. I'll tuck this in. Let's see if this is better. You see, I can press down, and when you look on the side, it's more than half of the mold is empty. And now I'm going to take my felting needle, being careful to not prick my fingers. I'm going to start felting this white wool roving into the shape that I want. And this shape becomes the base. And on top of that, I'm going to felt the color wool roving. But before I do that, I want to nicely, evenly felt the base piece. Careful to hold your fingers on the outside of your template mold or cookie cutter. I'm using a cookie cutter. And you can work much faster, but for the purposes of the video, I want you to see what it looks like. It's going to start to look pokey like that. We want to keep working until it's flat. It will start felting into your padding, so you'll want to lift it, turn it over, and then work from the other side. See that it's getting more and more felted. More and more uniform in shape. Lift it up, put it back in. Felt more. This is a very beginner-friendly project. Some of you experts in needle felting out there might remember doing things like this when you first started learning. And if you're new to this, remember to be very careful. Needles might break if you're not careful. So in the beginning, and while you're still getting a feel for this, go more slow than fast. It's definitely a type of project that also asks you for care and patience. Now we keep working in the cookie cutter mold, but we also want to start bringing the color into our work. So when you start laying the color, I have learned that for these especially for the beginner level projects, it's important to stop and remember you want wispy, thin layers. You don't want to have a big chunk of wool laid over your work. You want wispy, thin layers, and then you'll come back and add another layer, and another layer, and another layer. So I'm pulling them out. See, I can see that white through, and that's okay. Going to wrap this. I'm going to put it back into my cookie cutter. I'm going to start needle felting. Now, depending on what you're doing, if you're making something that doesn't need to have a finished back, you don't have to worry about that. If you're making something that does have to have a finished back, as you're wrapping, keep wrapping from one side, then the other. So now I get another wispy layer of red. And this layer will go on this side. Now for a little bit of time, I'm going to work without my cookie cutter. I'm going to carefully, now be careful you don't have that guard for your fingers there. So you want to be very careful with your fingers. What you're going to notice are the needle holes. I wanted to tell you about them. This is a beginner level video, so I'm going to assume that you don't have a wide range of felting needles available, and maybe you're just giving this for a try for the very first time. So you pick up this Clover needle felting tool at your local craft store. So when you have these, you can use your fingers to work them in. And as you keep layering, they're going to be less and less noticeable. Now, if you have other needle sizes available, you will use, as you get more layers on, you will start using thinner needles to have smaller holes, but you don't have to do that just yet. So now we're going to wrap this. We're going to turn over and felt from the other side. Don't worry that the shape seems to be lost a little bit. We will get it back. We wrap from this side, felt it in. Now, if you want to use just red roving from the start, you absolutely can. But very often when you're just beginning, you may not have a lot of roving in various colors available. So I thought I would show you how to keep wrapping around little wispy layers so that you can work with what you would have as a beginner. If you have a lot of red wool roving, instead of starting with the white base, you can just start with red and skip the wrapping and go straight to maybe giving it a little detail decoration. Good places to start looking for beginner kits. Of course, there are many online resources, your local craft stores, but also fiber shows, your local fiber shops. You can find many beautiful small amounts. So if at this point you have lost the shape, you can get this back into your cutter and get it more formed. If you are not losing the shape, you don't have to get back into the cutter. You can let it get a little larger for a little while. But if you're losing the shape, you would simply put it back into the cutter and felt a little more. Right, we need another wispy layer. So if sometimes you're wondering, should I buy more of this color in wool roving? If you know you're going to be creating things in that color, you can see that it's definitely worth it having enough colors for both the base and the finishing. But if you want to make something and you don't have enough for the base, you can have plain wool roving as the base and then wrap it with the color like we're doing here. As you're working now, these are the top layers we're working on now, you want to also maintain the shape. You push in from the side to get this point and the shaping, because if you never work on the edges, they're going to splay out. I hope the beginners out there are having now are feeling comfortable giving this a try with this video. And if you are, do share it with a friend who might be wondering if this is something they could do. I do believe everyone can do this beautiful art, and this is a good place to start for a very, very beginner project. So do share the video with others who might have fun giving it a try. Now you can keep working just in one color, but you know that I prepared a few tones. So I'm going to start adding those colors to bring a little bit of a unique design to my creation here. And I encourage you to do the same. Get creative. You can just add wool roving colors in different shapes and designs, but you can also be careful with your needles. Do not push from the side. If you need to go along the edge, push in and up and then down. In and up and then down. Do not push like this. So in, up and then down to shape that edge. And watch your fingers. So in, up, and then down. Always push top down and slow down. If you see that you're starting to poke, 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 slow down. Work safely. Work on shaping that edge. But also get creative, not just with adding colors of wool roving, but you can sew on embellishments, little charms. You can use lovely stitching if you like to do embroidery work. You can embroider on top of this. Get creative and make these creations your own. Now remember, if you have experience doing this work and have different size needles, at this point you will start using smaller needles. But I'm going to keep this video very beginner oriented, so I'm going to stick with this. I'm going to get some gold to this heart. Remember, every time I'm bringing a new color, I want to be sure I'm not adding clumps of wool. So it's wispy if I need to layer over. It's wispy and thin if I need to do a detail. So I want to kind of draw with this gold color, and I'm going to twist it as I needle felt it in. When I twist it a little bit, it gives me more of a line, as if I were drawing with a crayon or a colored pencil. With this tool that has 3 needles, this detail work can be tricky. You have to make sure that at least one needle is going through the line you're drawing with your roving. If you have single needles, this work will be much easier with a single needle. But again, in striving to make this accessible to very, 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 very beginners, I'm going to stick to using this one tool only. And you can make your own designs. As you can see here, I'm really not being very detailed or specific as to this decoration. But you can get very specific. You can have somebody's initials. You can have a specific shape or a symbol that's meaningful to you. Or you can make it very free and abstract. Again, I want to make sure this edge is done nicely, so I will go from the side up and then push down, side up and then push down. So always push top down on your needle, never sideways. Always top down. Now I'm going to add a different color to the other side. Now I wanted to show you this. You might buy some roving that is not wispy and combed out like this one. But then you might want to use these little and brush it out. Card it just enough for your project. You don't have to become an expert carder at this. You just brush enough of it for your project, for what you need. And this is all I'm going to need for my project here. I want to add a little pink shading this side of the heart. A little more color. It's almost like painting with wool. Okay, here I go from side up to make sure I maintain this nice edge. I want this to be shaded in, so I need a little more red to make the effect that I'm imagining here. I don't want a glob of pink. I want it to look more of a transition from red to pink. And as you're creating your own design, it's going to have a very special meaning of your own. So you're going to be creating, maybe your heart is not in red at all. Maybe you have a silver or a golden heart. Maybe it is green and metallic. Maybe it is blue and wintry. Do put in the comments some of your first beginner projects, or if you make hearts or stars with this approach, what you use them for, what colors you use. It's always fun to read other people's ideas, and it's inspiring when we share that with each other. We help each other have new ideas. And as we share, we often get new ideas of our own for future projects too. So do go to the comments and share. If you have tips, if you're an experienced needle felter here, I'm sure there are going to be some. and you want to add tips for beginners that I'm not thinking of mentioning right now, please do. Please do add those tips. Into the comments. So you see, I'm imagining this pink is peeking through the back. I'm trying to get that effect with these wisps of red. I don't want to lose the shape. And I want to add a little green touch here. So this one is nice and wispy, and I'm going to twist it so that I can paint or draw with it on my little creation here. If you're doing this for the very first time, let yourself imagine while you're working. If you would rather create a pattern, you can draw this on paper first. That's another way to approach it. But when you're doing it as a beginner, it is nice to let yourself have the freedom to imagine while you're felting. I think we are ready to call this one almost finished. I'm gonna go from the edge very carefully. Do this to finish the edge like this. Careful not to hurt your fingers. If you want to get a little more finishing to the back if it didn't felt completely, remember to do that. Do not neglect it. And then you can take the scissors and trim around a little bit the wool that's sticking out. You want to make things look neat and finished. Trimming those unruly hairs, going all the way around. Just be careful not to cut your creation. Only the unruly hairs, and you might discover some that actually need to be tucked back in. Let me know what you think about this design and this approach. I hope it doesn't feel intimidating at all anymore to start needle felting yourself with this beginner project. I think I'm going to make this one into a pin. And a gift for a friend. So you can just use a sewing needle and add that to the back. But it can also be a very nice ornament if you just thread some cotton thread through here, or even you can just put the wire or ornament, like a wire ornament hook through the wool. You can do that as well. If you enjoyed this video, please like and share and subscribe to follow our other videos. And check out this next video that's coming up for you on the screen. Happy felting!